As we breathe deep, we open first in the prayer that we surrender into God's holy presence. Abun soleventur cavus neviedre, soremur cotori metervidia hasma hashiste contro yondro coemenan. Abun la caiura que verias masipiendre sticteru, rus sipiliendre hamu tatihish macalu under vees mahavia. Yeshua, alendra codra ves misiliandre. Yahweh Elohim utoria manak yarabasas vidiendro koyanamas tuteriveshma. Yeshua, we stand in awe, thanksgiving, praise, and worship to know that your Spirit, your presence, establishes holy protection around this time. And Yahweh, God and Creator, we know that you bring forth your wisdom and clarity in all that we do. Your life-giving breath emerges to make known all that you wish for each of us to recognize within our walk and our journey upon this earth, to be freed from all things of a spiritual nature. And one of the things that I'd like to reach into is the understanding of the spiritual nature, of the things that we encounter on a spiritual nature, but also the miraculous nature of our God. And we've had a wonderful gift given into our midst of both Andy and Pamela, and they had been seeking in prayer and kind of came up with an understanding that they needed to share more through newsletters and sharing the different miracles that have happened by God's grace and the different things that we've been doing within Grace Healing over the past years. Now, since our legal establishment was just about 10 years ago, and prior to that, for probably 15 or 20 years prior to that as well, in service to people, I've been honored to serve thousands of people and to see some pretty amazing things unfold. And as I've mentioned in the past on these calls, I can't attach any one of them to me as Larry. It's not some thing that I've learned. It's not something that I have done or executed in some way. It is God's manifest love, grace, and glory pouring through to bring blessing unto those people that I've been blessed to stand with as His Spirit emerged within our union, within our time of prayer, and within the holy experiences that we would name as miraculous. And as you start to read the different newsletter offerings that Andy's putting together with Pamela's help, I want you to kind of open your heart to recognize that there is more going on than just the simple offering of grand, magnificent miracles. The reality is that we have to open our hearts to recognize the subtle, simple aspects of the miraculous as well. And what I mean by that is, as I've served thousands of people, and there were days where I might have, anywhere from 11 to 15 to sometimes 18 phone calls in a day, some of them exceeding an hour, some of them less than an hour, and some of those days going pretty long in prayer calls, whether they be here in the Northeast or they be in Germany or Stockholm or California or wherever they happen to be. So there's really no time limit to when God desires to bring somebody blessing. And yes, as you begin to read the newsletters, you're going to start to experience some things that are miraculous in nature as people witnessed them. They saw these things unfold in front of them. But I want to reach into the moment now that is the subtlety of the miraculous. Because I've had people call me from every type of experience, whether they were just in a near-death situation or they had just lost a loved one to being birthed into new life, or if they are facing a life-threatening illness, if they have a brother or sister facing a life-threatening illness, or if they're a caretaker over somebody that's just passing, or something. There's always some manner of an intensity, or the simplicity of looking for a new job and the stresses and anxieties that it builds and forms within that. And what I want to do is help you to understand that as these phone calls begin, and I know some of you experienced them, but there's others now that are just being introduced to this process. When a person first calls, there is a lot going on inside them spiritually. And when I say spiritually, I mean small s spiritual, not capital S spirit. Capital S spirit being God's spirit within you and the purity of your spirit before God's grace. Spiritual, small s spiritual, is what I'm talking about that governs the flesh, meaning the soul. The connecting point from spirit to body. Soul connecting point. So in this spiritual ground, there are separate spiritual forms that govern the nature of actions, responses, and things that occur. And what I want to focus your attention on tonight is the importance of understanding what the subtle miraculous is of God. And as people have called in intense need or difficulty or stress or strain or anxiety or fear or depression, whatever it happens to be, one of the things that I've been led to do now for years on end is to pray first to release these things. And in these releases, what is happening is a miraculous that most people aren't even aware of that's occurring and unfolding beyond their sight. And as I've spoken to you over these past weeks, that I am taking you to the deeper truth, the understandings that were spoken within the words when Yeshua said that there are truths you cannot bear. When we're talking to things of a spiritual nature, you've heard me say this before, but it's when Paul was saying, it is not I that do the things that I wish to do, for it is all the things that I do not wish to do that I do, for it is the very nature of the spirits within me that govern the nature of my actions. It is when Stephen is being stoned to death and they hear his voice cry out from heaven saying, Yahweh, forgive them, for they know not what they do, for it is the spirits within them that govern the nature of that which they do. He's speaking to the spirits within the individual. Spirit of fear, spirit of anxiety, spirit of hostility, spirit of aggression, spirit of fear, spirit of blindness. The unclean spirit manifesting leprosy, and we've spoken of this before. When Yeshua freed somebody from deafness, he released them from the spirit of deafness. When he released them from the spirit of blindness, he released them from the spiritual nature of that which governed our flesh and manifested within our bodies. So as you start to see these different testimonies, or if any of you have gone and watched the testimonies on Andy's story, and this is a different Andy from our Andy, but an Andy from a number of years ago that I was blessed to serve, you will hear a miraculous where he was moved from a severe drug overdose where the police didn't know that was what was transpiring, and he was held in a cell for, 11 hours or something, and they realized that he was degrading, failing, all kidneys, liver, everything shutting down and failing. And no medication, no blood transfusion, no pumping of the stomach, nothing, because it was already in the bloodstream. Releasing 67 individual spirits from his form, and he was totally clear, totally blessed, totally focused, able to talk, able to walk, able to move with ease, stand up with clarity when he came in, totally bouncing, unable to control his body or anything. It was just the prayer and release of the spiritual, which was God's miraculous. God reaching to the spiritual nature within to bring restoration to the spirits within. Yeshua called them the captives, to set the captives free, that they would return into the fullness of God's loving embrace and be restored and returned according to God's design, God's will. This is the miraculous. And the way this functions for people is they call in and they're in need, and we peel through these individual experiences, these individual influences, these individual spiritual aspects, small f. And we return to embrace the breath of God's Spirit within. And this is the most beautiful aspect of the miracle. Not only of the captives within that moment, those 67 within Andy, in the prison, in the jail, not only were they restored, but by the end of that time there was a peaceful awareness, a calming sense within Andy, and a hopeful truth that God was with him and he's moving forward in life and away from this recent experience. And that's what transpires for people on the phone calls with Grace Healing, whether it be with myself or with others or with my partner, Ina. is the understanding that as you are releasing things of a spiritual nature, as you are releasing the captives to be restored into the fullness of God's light and love, you are freed to recognize God's presence by the closing of the call. Now, there's many times in the middle of the call where we will come to a place where the person is feeling a sense of peace, and I might ask them, well, breathe deep, release, surrender into Yeshua's embrace, and breathe deep once again. At the peak of your breath, give me the first thought or awareness that God reveals within you. Sometimes that comes forth in a vision or an understanding or a clarity or a wisdom, and other times just a sense of peace. Most times it comes in the sense of peace. And again, as you go to these newsletters that Andy's going to be producing, please remember that you will see things of a miraculous and glorified nature that really speak to God's glory and power over the human condition, even to the point of a person's physical death, being resurrected into new life. But I would ask for each of you to heighten your recognition of the reality of the simple miracles of touching God's peace within a stressful, anxiety-filled, depressing moment or fear-ridden situation. When you can release the things of a spiritual small s nature that are governing the reactions within that moment, you will touch the presence of God, and there lies the miraculous. God was always there, never left you or forsake you. In the miraculous, you chose to release the captives from within. In the miraculous, you met and touched the presence of God, which is the living miracle fully defined. So please don't get lost on the larger aspect of the miracles that get shared through the newsletters. Please remember that the miracles are present every single day if you allow for the time for the breath of God's presence to mature within you as you release the things of the small s spiritual and embrace the capital S Spirit of God within you. And then please remember, and I say this from the deepest parts within my heart because I've watched so many people fall away, please remember to set a stake in the ground and say this place here, this moment, this time of this peace that enters upon my heart, I know God's presence within me without a doubt. And mark that, whether you journal it or you write or circle something on the calendar and you state to yourself that you're going to remember that time for eternity. That it is God's presence evidencing and revealing himself because you are willing to look to God and not the fears, depressions, or situations that presented in the moment of a spiritual nature. And if you can do this, you will remember that it is God's love first that is your greater power. And you will live, dwell, and align yourself with the nature of God's presence, and you will move to a place where you will begin to witness the miraculous in nearly every breath of your walk, even in the midst of not-so-great situations. You will be able to tap into the presence of God's Spirit. You will be able to tap into the nature of God's love, even if the circumstances surround you don't look so great. So I'd ask you, please, to heighten your self-vigilance. Because I have seen so many people that have been experiencing miracle after miracle, subtle ones, magnificent ones, glorifying ones, and within a matter of a few years, fallen away like they never happened. Not even able to reclaim the memory of the experiences. And then when you define them for them, like, oh, I kind of remember that. And they say it in kind of this lackadaisical, offhanded comment of recognition instead of awe and wonder that, wait, that was God in that moment in my life. How can I take this moment to dismiss it and set it aside? trust in the miraculous nature of God's Spirit living and dwelling within you each and every moment. And know that God's grace and love is here to sustain you, strengthen you, and renew you in each and every breath of the Amun, the breath that lives and dwells within you, which is Amun, breath of God's Spirit, O breathing life, Yeshua, the perfect connecting point from the living Spirit, Yahweh Elohim, unto all things of creation. Please know that we at Grace Healing love you all dearly and are present here to serve as you reach out and set a time for an appointment, that we could engage in prayer calls and seek to reveal the miraculous for you in any situation you face. So we close now in this time of prayer and thanksgiving to know that it is God's Spirit that is present to reveal the miraculous within you in each and every breath. And we breathe as one. Yeshua Hamun Studio Isayo. And I want to allow for Ina to speak now and just share what's on her heart as we surrender now and allow for God's Spirit to move through his most precious daughter, my partner, the executive director within Grace Healing, and the gift and completer that God has rested into Grace Healing for all that he wishes to reveal within our call. We breathe as one, and I allow for her to speak now to bless you.
Moya bakariara mahabasa taniara bikuno no mahabishi. Maya vokuno no mahabia sono bakariara. I would like to say and acknowledge first, Yahweh, in the very things that have just been spoken by Larry, is that seeking God first in everything. And just want again to encourage all of you that are on the call and those that are new to please always reach out if you're in need, and that's what we are here for. Even in our own lives, and I'm just briefly going to say today for me was a very full and unexpected event. Engaged with Larry prior and thought, God, I'm got all this going on, and I know seeking him first, you tell me, God, what order in agreement with Larry, the completer of Grace Healing, what should I be doing? Because we all go through things, and I had to rest all this in prayer, and because right now there's some other things that I should be engaged in, so I thought. And yet here I am on this call and engaging in being first seeking God, what did he want in the proper order. And I would have done in agreement what I should have done. I chose that because I cannot do this on my own. I cannot. If I were to take on the stresses of the things that just were arising in the last couple hours or so, you know, we get caught, whatever it might be, at work, at home, something going on, seeking him first and giving it all to him. And as that upwoon was rising, I knew that I was to be on the call and everything else would fall into place. And everything just lifted off of me because I released it unto him and received the fullness of his love, his peace, knowing that everything, and even now, even speaking these things to you, I didn't know I was going to even mention this. I was just being here in prayer as things were rising, spoken as Larry was speaking. I just share that with you because we all go through things in our lives, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially. It doesn't matter. If we just make God the center of whatever our lives and have that intimate relationship, just calling upon his name, spending that time with him, developing that relationship in everything he's given you, your gifts and talents, the things you love to do, whatever it might be, being in his presence, whatever might be arising, because it is a tendency of us as humans to grab and to do whatever. It's like a knee reflex, when, whoop, that happened, your knee kicks up. Or, that's a first reaction. But I have to say, for me personally, in the walk that I've been in with God, I can't just decide to do something on my own anymore because he's so real in me. It's just part of me, and that's what I feel privileged to be part of Grace Healing, to share that with you. And I know a lot of you are hearing me in this, and you're in the same, or you want more. Well, how do I do that? It's just being alone with him, to that quality time, just seeking his face, breathing the breath of God within you. And then when you get out and these things come about, because we're in the world, we're not of it. We're going to come into things, whether it's work, whatever, if we can just engage in him, and he'll direct our steps. And so I just encourage you in that today and tonight, as you have engaged on this call, which wasn't a coincidence, to continue to seeking him in a more powerful, deeper way. So that's just what I wanted to share, and I just want to end in prayer with this. Is thank you, Yahweh, and each one that has been on this call, to cover and protecting them, watching over them, drawing them closer unto you in the breath that they breathe, walking in the fullness of your love and a greater awareness in their loved ones, their families, physically, mentally, spiritually, their work, of whatever that they are doing and what you are providing for them, that they come into a greater understanding of your love, moving them in the direction that you have called them to, seeking you first, seeking that, and knowing as they surrender all unto you and receiving your love in the fullness thereof, that they have that peace, they have that fullness of who you are. So we thank you, we praise you, we worship you in your most precious holy name.
Yahweh Elohim, Yeshua, Amun, Sorietenu, Kukevia, Faturias, Nahaba. Blessings on you all. Thank you so much, Ina. And may you all find a blessed and restorative sleep in your evening and wake tomorrow refreshed and renewed and remembering the miraculous is available in each and every breath, as long as you take the moment to bless each and every action that you take, including each breath that you draw upon. We love you and look forward to the opportunity to serve you in all that you're processing.
Yes, we love you. Good night.